Every boat has its own story, its own flavour and its own environment, which it finds particularly well. For example, the inflatable boats of NUOVA are highly appreciated in the French Riviera, but I've never seen one in Miami, Florida.
This
is the NUOVA 38cc rubber boat. It is 11.3 metres long and it is very wide, 3.8 metres. But above all, look at the shape of its hull.
Quando si sceglie un'imbarcazione, non bisogna guardare solo alle caratteristiche estetiche. Anzi, l'opera.
When choosing a boat, you shouldn't look at only the aesthetic characteristics. In fact, the immersed part of the hull is essential for a safe and pleasant sailing. Traditional hulls, with a very deep V, tend to roll a lot, but a boat like this has huge tubes that reach the water surface and stabilise it. The entire main deck is dedicated to outdoor living. There are two living areas, one forward and one aft, and both become sun decks. At the bow, in addition to sofas arranged in a V, there is a seat where you can be caressed by the wind. For boarding and disembarkation, a step has been provided next to the large pulpit. The stern living area is organised with a dining table electro-hydraulically activated. All around, the sofas are fitted with backrests, and the cockpit, so defined, is a place that offers protection even for children. The whole area can be covered with a light awning. Let's see what the kitchen has to offer. Here's the fridge, the sink, and then there is room for a cutting board and a gas or electrical stove. The helm is, on request, protected with a T-top. In the cabin there are two sofas that can become a queen-size bed with the addition of a cushion and an additional board. The room is built in and vented by two opening side scuttles. An open rubber boat like this one has so much space on board that you can invite a lot of friends. As of the CE certificate, on board can be transported up to 18 persons. If you're used to evaluating a boat, also taking into account the technical side of it, just know that this hull has been built using highly resistant multi-axial materials and vinyl ester resins that are more impervious to the atmospheric events and marine environments. And if you want to customise it, no problem. These are semi-custom units, and NUOVA sets no limits to satisfy your fantasy.
A proposito, quali sono le prestazioni del Prince 38cc di Nuova Jolly?
So, what is the performance of the Prince 38cc from NUOVA? This model is powered with two Verado 300 horsepower. Yes, now we can just call them by their name, Verado, omitting the name of the manufacturer, Mercury Marine. Actually, this boat can also be powered with two outboard 400 horsepower engines. We say that this may be a quieter version. Quieter, but how quiet? Now we'll see. The engines have been installed on a bracket, a structure which in this case has been made of aluminium and which is installed to the transom. It derives from racing boats, where it is used to remove the centre of thrust from the hull and fix the propellers in the maximum performance position. In reality, on this boat, in addition to these effects, it has been employed in order to use the same hull, the mould itself, even the inboard-outboard version. The security line is connected. We can begin to surf here at the helm. I feel really at ease because the controls are comfortable and, the instruments are right in front of my eyes. This is the vessel view of Mercury Marine. You know that now you can see all the functions, all data which are indicated by this instrument, even on your smartphone. Just download an app. It's really interesting facility because besides seeing all the functions indicated by the instruments, there is much, much more. For example, you can also view information about maintenance or fault codes that can even be sent to your Mercury technician for suggestions on which actions to take. Then there is the data on fuel consumption, and you can find the nearest refueling stations or details of the nearest Mercury dealer. You can store a given time of sailing, even take a picture, maybe of the great fish you just caught.
Questa applicazione inoltre costituisce un vero e proprio diario di bordo che potete utilizzare per rivedere.
This application also constitutes an actual diary that you can use to review all that is happening during your cruise, and you can also take such information regarding fuel efficiency or the performance of your engine and share them with your friends. It's crazy. Sometimes I myself am surprised at the technology on boats, on rafts, is even further advanced than that of a car. But the car manufacturers make significantly larger investments.
Mentre chiacchieravo, ho accelerato e lentamente.
While we were chatting, I sped up and slowly brought the boat into planing. Actually, I didn't notice the moment that the trim changed. And yet we see from the wake, at this moment we are planing 13 knots, 2,500 revs a minute, and it will probably keep the same attitude, even if I give it a bit more gas. 2,200 revs a minute, 11 knots. It is always on plane.
La visuale è perfetta perché
The view is perfect because despite having a very large bowsprit, useful for embarkation and disembarkation, it is actually quite low compared to my point of view. Thanks to the distance from the motors, the boat is longer than 11 metres, and the fact that the motors are installed, as we have said, on the outside of the transom, the noise level here at the pilot seat is really low. I have the sound level meter, so we are at 20 knots and the noise is, well, I have to be quiet, I am the one making the noise.
Allora,
68 dB, mainly due to the wind.
vediamo la schermata relativa al consumo. In questo momento.
Okay then, we see on the screen the consumption at this time. At a speed of 20 knots, we are consuming 20 litres an hour for each engine, and we travel about half a mile with a litre of fuel.
Stiamo navigando nella laguna tra Miami Beach e Downtown.
We are navigating in the lagoon between Miami Beach and downtown, and at this time the temperature is 25 degrees. So the fact that the windshield is quite low and lets the air flow on the face is not a problem. But maybe if it were colder. At any speed you have to control the trim. You do it to increase productivity, reduce consumption, increase the speed. But if you do not want to bore yourself with this adjustment, there is an active trim. Behold, now I will put it into operation. Voila!
È lo strumento creato da Mercury Marine.
It is the instrument created by Mercury Marine which automatically changes the attitude of the outboard motor depending on the speed. It must be tested by the boat manufacturer or installation technician of engines, and once done, it is perfect, better than I can do myself. Of course, if you have set it well.
Ecco, adesso ho ridotto la velocità.
Well, now I reduced the speed to observe how it works, and the active trim lowered the trim angle. That's great. There's also the cruise control. It's fantastic.
Ecco.
Here it is very convenient because here I cannot go more than 3 knots. And does it maintain this limit on its own?
Quando navighi per un po' di tempo a una bassa velocità,
When you're cruising for a little while at a low speed, but you know that at your stern you have the beauty of 600 horses, as soon as you see the sign that the speed limit is over, well, what does that make you want to do? There's the sign, to the throttle.
oh, 23, 25, 26, 27, 30, 31, 30.
Oh, 23, 25, 26, 27, 30, 31, 35, 36. Oh, active trim. Yes, it's changing. It's pulling the engines out of the water. 6,400 revs a minute. 42, 43 knots.
Ora sì che riconosco il nuovo Jolly Prince 38cc e anche i Verado 300.
Ah, how I recognise the Prince 38cc and the Verado 300. Great. Maximum speed, 45 knots.
Il feeling alla guida è favoloso.
The feeling at the helm is fabulous. As always, credit is due to the Mercury steering.
Non ha un angolo di sbandata eccessivo.
It does not have the excessive angle of skid. It is fairly quiet, but it is always very quick in turns.
Decisamente maneggevole e capace di tenere la traiettoria.
Precisely manoeuvrable and able to hold the trajectory, even in maximum speed.
È chiaro che più si va forte, più è difficile tenere sotto controllo i consumi.
It is clear that keeping the consumption under control is more difficult the faster you go. For example, now at full throttle, we are at 110 litres for each motor, 110 litres an hour, 220 litres hour total.
Ok, è stato bello.
Okay, it was nice, but I have to go back to reduce speed.
Supponiamo che questa prova vi sia piaciuta e soprattutto abbiate...
Let's assume that you enjoyed this test and overall the boat and its performance. Well, to buy one, if you make a comparison with other similar-sized watercrafts, you discover that, well, it's not so expensive.